We're going to look at the topic of the beast and the mark of the beast, which means we're going to dip our toe into the book of Revelation, which is the trickiest book to understand in the New Testament. And I think something I find particularly difficult as we look at the book of Revelation is that when we read Revelation purely as a future prophecy, things that are going to happen in the future, I think it leads us to conclusions that are not consistent with the rest of the New Testament. For example, Jesus says no one knows when he's going to return. But when we read Revelation as this future prophecy, it feels like we can align the timeline of Revelation with things that are happening in the world today and know when Jesus is going to return and know when the end is coming. And that's not consistent. I think a better way to read Revelation is the way Jesus talks about the last days. When Jesus talks about the last days, he talks about the time from when he came to earth as a man and when he is coming back. And that whole time period as a whole is the last days. And if we read Revelation like that, we read it much more as a cycle of things that are going to happen in the world. Why that is helpful is at times in history, at times in our lives when it feels like the gospel is going backwards, when it feels like Jesus' people is losing, we can read Revelation and see there is a bigger picture going on here. There's a cosmic battle happening in the background. And the good news of Revelation is Jesus wins. What do we do then with something like the beast in Revelation 13? If Revelation is a cycle, a pattern, then the beast isn't just one thing that we find in history, one thing that's going to happen, or one person if we associate with the Antichrist. But the beast is something that continues to happen. It's systems, belief structures that keep popping up throughout history that are anti-gospel, that are anti-Jesus, or we might say that are anti-Christ. And so in Revelation, the beast is everything that is opposite to Jesus. Jesus is described as the lamb, and this is the beast. And things that happen to Jesus, there's a counter to that, an opposite or a similarity of which the beast is countering against the lamb. So for example, in Revelation 14 verse 1, we get this picture of the lamb and his people who are called the 144,000. Then I looked, and there before me was the lamb, standing on Mount Zion, and with him 144,000 who had his name and his father's name written on their foreheads. So we see the people who belong to the lamb are marked on the forehead. Revelation 13, we're given a counter picture to that. Only a few verses before that, we're told that the beast's people are marked on the forehead and on the hand. Why this is helpful, I think, is it enables us to lift our eyes off focusing on what is the mark of the beast and back onto the big picture of who Jesus is and the fact that he is sovereign and in control. I received an email from someone who felt like the tests for COVID were the mark of the beast and said, sadly, before I realized it, I had taken one of these tests and been marked by the mark of the beast. I want to say that is not how the Bible talks about salvation, that someone might take a medical procedure that is morally neutral, like a test, and suddenly be snatched away from the Lamb, from Jesus. It totally flies contradictory to parts of the Bible like Revelation, Romans 8:39. This is what Romans 8:39 says. And I think it's completely clear, neither height nor depth nor anything else in all creation, I would add to that man's manipulation of creation, nor anything else in all creation will be able to separate us from the love of God that is in Christ Jesus. To think we could have this man-made, morally neutral thing that a Christian might accidentally, innocently take and be suddenly snatched away from salvation, that is not the message of the Bible. That is a beastly idea. That is an anti-gospel. That is anti-Christ. And I want us to have confidence that God is sovereign and in control and his people can't be snatched away like that. What do we do with all that then? I think two things. One, the message of Revelation is clear. Jesus wins. He is sovereign, he's in control, and he wins. And two, those who are in Christ win with Christ. That is the great hope of Revelation. That is what it means to live in the end of days.